Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaure Ba, Hai Ba, Hai Ba, Ba, Hai Ba. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Parivrajacharya, Ashtotra Satat Srimad is Divine Grace, his compound Acharya. Shri A.C. Bhakti Vasudeva Swami Prabhupada Maharaja ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Parivrajacharya, Ashtotra Satat Srimad is Divine Grace, Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Prabhupada Maharaja ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavin ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Prem Si Kahau Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Si Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Si Gaura Bhaktavin ki Jai. Si Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Syamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki Jai. Sevendavan Dham ki Jai. Si Mayapur Dham ki Jai. Si Jagannapuri Dham ki Jai. Gangamai Yamunamai ki Jai. Si Matitulsi Devi Bhakti Devi ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktavin ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the summer devotees. All glories to the summer devotees. All glories to the summer devotees. All glories to Sisi Gaura and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottama. Yes. Devim Saraswati Vyasa Tato Jaya Mudirayet Nasta Prayesvabhadesu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavaiti Naistiki. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, text 28 to 29. So I think 29 is what is on the board. So I will just read the translation to text 28, then we'll go to 29. Then also, when the cowherd boys and the animals drank the poisoned water of the river Jamuna, and after the Lord, in his childhood, revived them by his merciful glance, just to purify the water of the river Jamuna, he jumped into it as if playing and chastised the venomous Kaliya snake, which was lurking there, its tongue emitting waves of poison. Who can perform such Herculean tasks but the Supreme Lord? So text 29. The Sanskrit is, can you help us to read that text? Can you be loud? Yes? Tad kama divyam eva yanisi nishayanam. Davagnina suchi vanipari dayamane. Uneshati vrajamato vasitanta kalam. Netra pida pyasabalo nadigamya virya. All right, can someone try? Whatever you want. Tat kama divyam ivan nisayana. Vaknitim sutivane paritayamane. Oneshati vrachamato vasitanta kalam. Netre bipasti sabalo nantikam yavirya. Can someone else try? Otherwise, Mataji's. Rajamato vasitata kala. So word for word translation and translation and purport by His Divine Grace is Confounded Acharya Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Tat, dat, karma, activity. Divyam, superhuman. Eva, like. Yat, which. Nisi, at night. Nisayanam, sleeping carefree. Davagnina, by the glare of the forest fire. Suchivane, in the dry forest. Paridayamane, being set ablaze. Uneshati, will deliver. Brajam, all the inhabitants of Braja. Artaha, hence. Awasita, surely. Antakalam, last moments of life. Netre, on the eyes. Pidapya, simply by closing. Sabalaha, along with Baladev. Anidigamya, Anadigamya, unfathomable. Viryaha, prowess. Translation. On the very night of the day of the chastisement of Kaliya snake, when inhabitants of Vrajabhumi were sleeping carefree, there was a forest fire ablaze due to dry leaves, and it appeared that all inhabitants were sure to meet their death. But the Lord, along with Balaram, saved them simply by closing his eyes. Such are the superhuman activities of the Lord. Please kindly responsibly repeat. On the very night of the day of the chastisement, of Kaliya snake, when the inhabitants of Vrajabhumi were sleeping carefree, there was a forest fire, ablaze due to dry leaves, and it appeared that all inhabitants were sure to meet their death. But the Lord, along with Balaram, saved them simply by closing his eyes. Such are the superhuman activities of the Lord. Purport. Although in this verse the Lord's activity has been described as superhuman, it should be noted that the Lord's activities are always superhuman, and that distinguishes him from the ordinary living being. Uprooting a gigantic banyan or a Jonah tree and extinguishing a blazing forest fire simply by closing one's eyes are certainly impossible by any kind of human endeavor. But not only are these activities amazing to hear, but in fact all other activities of the Lord, whatever he may do, are all superhuman, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 4:9. Pandis, what does 4:9 say without going to check? Yes? Are you reading from? Are you reading offhand? Okay. Okay. Help us.
Taktva deham punarjanma naiti mam vaiti so Arjuna. That was because of him. I had forgotten those.
Okay. Thank you. Whoever knows the superhuman activities of the Lord due to their very transcendental nature becomes eligible to enter the kingdom of Krishna. And as such, after quitting this present material body, the knower of the transcendental activities of the Lord goes back home, back to God. Gyana Tumarandasya, Gyana Janan Salakaya, Saksol Meditam Jena Tasmai, Sri Guru Deva. Sri Chaitanya Mano Vistam, Stafi Tam Jena Bhutali, Swayam Rupam Kadamayam, Dadati Swa Padantika. Vanchakalpatari Byacha, Kripasundya Evacha, Patitanam Pal, Vaishnavibhyo, Namo Namaha. Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Nityananda Sahodato, Godathaya Puspavanto, Chito Chandutamon. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadara, Srivasa, Gaur Bhakti. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Rama. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale, Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Itinam. Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pacharine, Nirvisesa Sonyavadi Paschatya Disatari. So, first we'd like to thank all of you for coming to participate, physical participation in the Bhagavatam class. Because traditionally in this digitalized age, you can stay at home in your room, in your cozy flat, and then, watch everything. But, choosing to come physically means a lot. Of course, there's something that we need to distinguish in the process of learning here. Yes, the digital age has created so much of convenience for us, and we are genuinely taking advantage. And it should also be understood that physical interaction is more result-oriented than watching on the screen. Not me saying, this is according to science, according to research data. So, in these two texts, we are being given we've been provided with some insight on the wonderful activities of Lord Krishna. Sometimes people question devotees, what is the proof that Krishna is the supreme? I worship Shiva. Another person says, I worship Durga. And they are all gods. They are all the supreme, I remember one famous video that was His Holiness Krishna Goswami. I made a very strong presentation regarding this point, and it shows an intriguing scenario, because we find that we are participating in this Krishna consciousness that is being provided by Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, our final Acharya. And sometimes we tend to think that those who are not taking part in it, they're just stupid. This is the genuine thing to do, and and a number of us, we have inquiries with our family members because they're doing something else. They either engage in impersonal culture or worshiping some other devata, whatever. And we find it a little bit difficult to understand why we are devotees in the family, and some other members of the family are not, putting up with courage. They are not being enthused about participating in Krishna consciousness. So, the point is that Lord Krishna mentions in the Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gyanavam Mam Prapadyante Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudulabha. Sudulabha is very rare for someone to come to that platform of accepting Krishna wholly, hook, line, and sinker as the Supreme Personality of God. It's very difficult. And therefore, if we understand, if we accept what Krishna mentioned in the Gita, then we don't need to fight with people, with be-day family members, because it's a common scenario. And we see how Krishna performed a lot of wonderful activities. But a number of people have not even read about Krishna's pastimes, so what will give them the conviction? For someone who has been exposed to the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam or the Krishna book, he could easily appreciate, or she could easily appreciate, the superhuman activities of Lord Krishna. And I've not seen this type of person. I've never had this type of person. So yes, he must be the supreme. Yes, he is the supreme personality of God. But unfortunately, a number of people are not lucky enough to be exposed, even about the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. In India, we have so many translations, not only in India, practically all over the world, even in the West. There are so many commentaries of the Bhagavad Gita, and most of those commentators, they are not even devotees of Lord Krishna. So what to make of it? And Prabhupada mentions that, these people, they make all of these commentaries just to suit their own purpose. But for us to understand Krishna, we need to read commentaries of the Bhagavad Purana, commentaries of the Bhagavad Gita, that been put up or put forward by devotees of Lord Krishna. Because it's just like, if you see someone, you may not readily understand how much bank balance they have or how much love they have for the family, except you're a part of that family. So, in other words, you can't understand somebody just on the road by his dress or by her dress. You have to be a close person to that fellow or to that person before you can understand that person, before you can vouch for that person, before you can say something about that person. So in a similarly, it is only the devotee of Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna definitely defines his devotee, man mana bhava bhakta. He is always thinking about me. To be a devotee is very easy, right? It's very easy, is it? Yes, someone had asked me at the Russian center. I gave a class 2 days ago, and someone asked that, so how can we measure? How can we measure the love someone has for Krishna? How can we measure that? So, yeah, it's quantifiable. Oh yes. You may ask how. Krishna said, man mana bhava mahabat. So, how much we are thinking about Krishna always, that is the yardstick to measure the intensity of our the intensity of our love for Krishna. Oh yeah. And if we love Krishna so dearly, why? Why should we love Krishna so dearly? Because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He has performed so many wonderful activities. And when someone is renowned for wonderful activities, naturally the person will have fans. These celebrities, they have fans all over the world. They are not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they have fans all over the world. Some of them are known, perhaps, more than the pure devotees. But they are known in the world more than the pure devotees. Oh yeah. Pure devotee doesn't really make you very popular all over the 3 worlds. Or you may be known by some other devotees. But the celebrities, they are known all over the 3 worlds. But we are not worshiping Krishna. We are not accepting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead just because of fanfare, because of his superhuman activities. Even how he took birth, how he appeared, that's a different thing. It's just too miraculous. So people who profess that some devata or some personality is the supreme, we have to see how they can lift, not forget about Govardhan Hill, okay? How they can lift maybe a mango for 7 days with your pinky finger. With your pinky finger. But it's so easy for people to imitate Krishna. I remember vividly, and I don't know whether I told this story here before, but I remember when I was younger, I joined a movement, and, in the temple where I was serving, we have guest houses. So guests used to come. And that time, we had, powerful female brahmacharinis also in the temple. Okay? And, some of the guests, when they come, they came purposely for the brahmacharinis. And so I remember one time, somebody was accosted. A guest, one of the life members was accosted. And his rationale was, he was chasing after one of the brahmacharinis. And so the brahmacharini reported. And then when he was accosted, his rationale, his rationale? He said, but Krishna also had many girlfriends. So people take the cheap part. I mean, it's like when people say they are worshiping Lord Shiva, and they're smoking ganja. And you ask them why. Oh, Shiva smokes ganja. Okay. Shiva also drank an ocean of poison. Why don't you drink not ocean of poison, 1 drop of poison? So, the point I'm driving home at is that, yes, Krishna performed amazing activities, superhuman activities, and those activities are meant to be recited, to be heard. And by the recitation and by the hearing of those activities, we get purified. Now, the activities of the mundane heroes, in fact, there is no hero in this world. The only hero is Krishna. Okay? I remember in Delhi, we used to make a joke with devotees. You meet one devotee and then, you're discussing. Also, you ask them, Apne hero hai? Are you a hero? Krishna is the only hero. He performed heroic activities that highly elevated souls recite and hear, and they get purified. They purify the whole world. And therefore, just by hearing about Krishna's activities, we attain some leverage from our material incarcerations. We don't have that with any other devata. In fact, when Muchukunda had helped the demigods to conquer the demons, they offered a boon. Ask for a boon. You have saved us. Ask for a boon. Muchukunda said, give me moksha. The demigod said, that we cannot give. We don't have the power to give that. It's only Lord Vishnu, it's only Lord Krishna who can give that. So this distinguishes Lord Krishna from every other higher being. The demigods recognized this. They said they cannot give moksha. So I wonder why people waste their time worshipping devatas. But Lord Krishna has delineated in the Bhagavad Gita. What did he say? Why people worship the demigods? Yes? You can explain in English, don't worry. You can explain in English. The text? If you really can't remember the text, just explain in English in a simple way.
So one who is for material sense gratification, kama prita jnana, like whose intelligence has been stolen by Maya, they worship the demigods. That's what I remember.
Who supports what he said? Or who disagrees with what he said? You don't support and you don't disagree. What is that? Okay, let's move on. So, Kaliya was a major hindrance to the social activities of the cowherd boys in Braja. One of those social activities is swimming in the Jamuna. You know, in the West, and even in India here, and I don't know so much about India, but in the West, you know, going to the beach is a popular thing. During the weekends or during special holidays. We go to the beach to have, you know, harinams and all these things because a lot of people come there during the special holidays. So it's a period for when people go to the beach to jump into the sea and bathe for refreshment. But for the Vrajabasis, the cowherd boys, they were like circumscribed from going to the Jamuna because of Kaliya. Kaliya has come to the Jamuna, and he's been emitting, you know, lots of venomous poison. And so the cowherd boys became affected by the effect of the poisons of Kaliya. But Lord Krishna revived them. And in this text 29, it's mentioning how the Vrajabasis, we have imagined, see, in the night, when military, even in the military, when they want to attack a place, if cops want to attack a criminal, they go in the night, in the dead of night, when he's sleeping. So this is like an attack. This forest fire, well, it's mentioned that the forest fire was due to dry leaves. And forest fire, see, over 5,000 years ago, forest fires were, you know, burning down cities. And so the forest fires we are experiencing these days, it's not something new. History just simply keeps repeating itself. As far as material world is concerned, these destructions must take place. And so, when the inhabitants of Vrindavan were sleeping carefreely in the night, there was a forest fire. And if someone is sleeping in the night and there's a forest fire, you can be rest assured the outcome of that. There'll be devastation. But Lord Krishna saved the Vrajabasis. How did he do that? He didn't go to, call, fire service to come and pump some, fire extinguishers to quell the fire. No, he simply closed his eyes. He meditated, so to say, and then the fire was gone. So, who could do that? Who could do that? So these are some of the activities of Lord Krishna that allow us to deepen our conviction that Krishna's too Bhagavan Swayam. We don't just accept Krishna because, oh, he's a handsome, cute boy. No. He had performed, his activities, they are immeasurable in terms of superhuman values. And that is why people are attracted to Krishna. He performed activities that no one else could even venture to do. And, sometimes, I'm also a member of Sabha. And, sometimes I hear some of the members of Sabha to talk about servant leadership. But Krishna is the best of servant leaders. I find it difficult to find any servant leader on this planet. Because the foremost quality of a servant leader is you go out your way to satisfy the needs of your constituency before yours. And it's only Lord Krishna who does that. What does he gain by swallowing a forest fire? What does he gain? What is the motivation? Nothing. Just, they are under my protection. I should protect them. So, the big things people are talking out there, they are there. Practically everything is there in the Bhagavatam. It's just that, we don't have the acumen to analyze the things and relate it to what is transpiring in the modern era. A servant leader, say a loving mother is a servant leader. There are some mothers who will prefer to die instead of their child to die. If their child is sick, they will pray to God, to pray to Krishna. Please, Krishna, save my child. You can take my life. This is a servant leader. So people masquerading as servant leaders, they are just, something else. So Krishna is the best of servant leaders. He goes out his way to provide the needs of his constituency, the needs of his devotees, without any expectations. And if we are servant leaders, the material world could be Vaikuntha. And servant leadership is a big discipline in the field of in a management discipline, in management faculty. But I don't find any servant leader on this planet. I'm sorry to say this. So, the activities of Lord Krishna, his birth, they are all divine. That is the definition that Lord Krishna himself gave in the Gita 4:6. And so because the Lord is not different from his activities, the Lord is not different from his name, it's not different from his form, because he is absolute. He could eat with his eyes. Can we eat with our eyes? He could exchange. His limbs are interchangeable. He could eat with his eyes. He could eat with his hands. Our limbs are just definitely projected or directed for one specific purpose, nothing else. And therefore, it is important for us to understand the great difference between the superhuman activities of Lord Krishna and the activities of so-called popular people in society. And in fact, anyone who accepts and with full faith understands that Krishna is the Supreme Person of Godhead, his activities are divine, his birth is transcendental, Krishna gives a promise. They will come back to him in the spiritual world. So our objective should be to understand Krishna, to deepen our faith in Krishna. And by reading the Bhagavatam, by listening to the lectures of the Bhagavatam, especially the Prabhupada's lectures, we can deepen our faith and have that leverage in our spiritual consciousness. Now, permit me to ask, how many of us read Prabhupada's books every day? I read Prabhupada's books every day. Good. So, it is important because according to there's, for instance, the Bhagavad Gita. Lord Vishnu, that was a discussion between Lord Vishnu and Lakshmiji in the Gita Mahatmya. That's this episode. So, in the discussion between Vishnu and Lakshmiji, Vishnu said that the Bhagavad Gita is not different from him. In other words, Bhagavad Gita is not different from the speaker. So by reading the Bhagavad Gita, we are becoming purified. By reading the Bhagavatam, it's the same thing like to go to the altar to do puja. Oh yeah. The Bhagavatam is a literary incarnation of the Supreme Personality of God. So please, try to understand. We are not another Mandya, or another Mandya, whatever. We are not another society. We are missionaries. We are missionaries. Prabhupada sailed out from his comfort zone in Vrindavan, Radha Damodara Temple, to the Militia County to transform people. That is a missionary spirit. And therefore, especially for those of us who have taken initiation, we should understand that initiation means to be a disciple. And for those who have read the Bible, you find that when Lord Jesus had just about how many disciples? Yeah, he sent them out. He sent them out. They didn't take the initiation. They didn't become disciples and then sat back in their home, in the comforts of their homes. Yeah, we should understand what it takes to be a disciple, to assist the spiritual master in expanding the mission of the Lord. So we should ask ourselves, what am I doing as a disciple to help the spiritual master in expanding the mission of the Lord? What am I doing to help Prabhupada in expanding the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? It's not just to take the initiation and say, I am a disciple of such and such great Paramahamsa. There is a heavy commitment. And so, Lord Krishna is calling us. He loves us so much. He comes all the time when there is a discrepancy. Even in this age, he has appeared in the form of his holy names. Amidst all of these dungeons, Krishna has appeared. He appeared earlier as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the devotees, even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees, they were so staunch, they were fearless, abaya. We heard about the Kazi. Everyone was afraid of the Kazi. At one time, he broke the midanga of the devotees. And Lord Chaitanya did not just sit back and then, say, oh, I tolerate him. No, he didn't do that. He took action. So, if we have to be preachers, we have to be followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have to take his example. I remember in the Bhagavad Purana, Gadadhara Pandit, Gadadhara Das, he went to the Kazi one time. He went to the Kazi one night, and then he said, where is the Kazi? I'll just sever his head. So he went to meet the Kazi. And then he said, hey, Kazi, chant Hari's names, okay? The Kazi was shocked. He said, I've heard you got out of dust. I'll follow you up your instruction from tomorrow, but for now, go and sleep. So, we're not saying that we should go and harass people, but the understanding should be that Krishna, when he was on the planet, he protected his constituency. He protected the Vrajabasis. We should appreciate that and help in expanding the mission of Lord Krishna. We should help. It doesn't matter, and it's not just for brahmacharis or brahmacharinis. It's for everybody to help. Because the glories of Lord Krishna are unlimited, we should sell these glories, we should package these glories so nicely and distribute it. Any comments or questions?
Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much for a very nice class. Maharaj, you started the lecture today by discussing that Krishna is supreme because he is performing superhuman activities. But nowadays we see the age of artificial intelligence coming up, and this perception of the superhuman depends on who is defining what is superhuman. For a child like an LKG or a KG, a small thing may be very advanced or a superhuman, and for a person who is very advanced or like is little, what we can say, qualified, for him, certain things may be not superhuman. So the point is, the Prabhupada also starts the Krishna book by the line that everybody is searching for happiness, but they don't know where happiness lies. So is just defining the superhuman activities of Krishna makes him supreme, or it is because that he is the source of happiness, he is the only source of happiness, he is the only source of peace, he is the only source of love. That is why we accept him as supreme. So somebody may challenge many times in preaching that is it that anyone who can perform wonderful activities, you will accept him as God?
Okay.
So my question is that is it just by replying him that no, only Krishna can do these activities, we are taking him God, or is it that he is the source of love, he is the source of that peace, he is the source of the happiness? That is why we are approaching him. So please clarify on that.
Thank you. Krishna is all inclusive. Here, the basic point is about, Prabhupada mentions, and even the text mentions about superhuman activities. Superhuman activities means activities that are beyond human values, human undertakings, the human prowess. We don't find anybody who lives a big hill like Govardhan with his pinky finger. That's a superhuman activity. We don't find that even in Vedic historiography, we never find that with anybody else. About his appearance, he appeared 404 in a prison. His parents prayed to him, "We can't keep you in our house like this. Turn to a baby." Then he transformed to a baby. The reason why we need to distribute Prabhupada's books, we need to read the books ourselves and distribute them, is to be able to give first-hand information, first-hand knowledge to people, to seekers, so that when they read the books, they can become convinced themselves. So Krishna has 64 qualities. If they read the books, they will understand what it takes. Now, if we are not distributing Prabhupada's books, it becomes difficult to spread the message of Krishna consciousness because the books are the weapons. How much can we preach to somebody to convince them? And Prabhupada instructed that we should not even waste more than 5 minutes in talking to someone on the street. We'll talk to people. If we are intelligent enough, we should be able to figure out this person is interested in taking a book or not. Except the person is interested, we may not waste our time. And so the whole idea is that when people are exposed to the knowledge of the Bhagavatam, I mean, it's like I was speaking with somebody, one devotee brought him from his project, and we were talking with this gentleman. He's a very rich guy, and he's been helping the project there where they are developing a new temple. But, you know, he's not a worshipper of Lord Krishna. So, one could say, why don't you just leave him alone? But people need to be exposed to the prowess of Lord Krishna, to his transcendental activities, his transcendental birth, and therefore they need some conviction. And when people need some conviction, it means the person who is trying to convince them has to be fully equipped with the transcendental information culture. And so, first we talk about his appearance. It was not just immaculate appearance, it was transcendental. Because there are people who are also born through immaculate system. But Krishna, he appeared in 400 form as Vishnu. And then his parents prayed to him. So right from the beginning of his appearance, he had demonstrated that he is the he is the supreme personality of God. It is not, forget about the superhuman activities, okay? From his birth. And so, when people tend to quantify superhuman activities, or trying to relate to superhuman activities, or anyone who can manufacture or produce arches to be the Supreme Lord. And it's just unfortunate because if you read the Bhagavatam, you have all of these mystic cities, 18 major mystic cities. You can produce anything you want just by, putting your hand up. And then you can produce anything. It's a city. You can walk on water. It's a city. You can levitate. You can move in the air. It's a city. For someone who is not conversant with the teachings of the Bhagavatam, you demonstrate this and then they say, oh, he's God, he's God. This is superhuman activity, he's God. It's just a city. So people are being deceived a lot in the whole global society. And if someone has some type of demonstrates some type of mystic perfection, and then the followers or the world tend to think that he is the Supreme Lord. But, for instance, a perfected cedar could expand himself to 8 different places. So he becomes the Supreme Lord? No. There is a limitation for his expansions. The Krishna can expand into millions and millions of forms. Expands into millions and millions of forms. So yeah, the preachers must read Prabhupada's books. We want to preach, we should read Prabhupada's books so that we are fully equipped, we are saturated with knowledge of transcendence. So we need to read. We need to read because we want to be preachers or because we are missionaries. And Prabhupada wanted his disciples. And we are followers of Prabhupada. He wanted his disciples to read his books and distribute his books. And that's why it's important for us to read every day. We may say, well, I don't have the time. I'm busy with work. I'm busy with this. I'm busy with that. But this, if we give it a priority, we will always make out the time. It's a matter of priority. Do we prioritize our spiritual development? Do we prioritize reading Prabhupada's books? If even it's just 15 minutes, if even it's 5 minutes, we can learn one sloka. Why not? And so then, that reading will help to relinquish us from our doubts. It will allow us to deepen our consciousness, our knowledge in Krishna consciousness. So yeah, the superhuman activities just mentioned in this text, but right from Krishna's appearance, he demonstrates, hey, don't play with me, I'm the Supreme Lord. Thank you for your questions. All right, I think that we have to stop. It's exactly 9 o'clock. I'm lucky that, here we follow the time, Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavatam ki.